it's a big problem, but the smaller problems that go on every single day, that people need to understand that this is how small problems become big problems.
Before slavery, before colonialism, there would have been, and there was, no stigma attached to having Afro-textured hair, to having Afro hair. There was no concept of good hair being a type of hair that more closely resembles European hair. This idea of there being a stigma related to it emerges directly from the transatlantic slave trade and the dehumanization of Africans that was necessary to justify their wide-scale enslavement. And part of that dehumanization process was to say that African people and people of African descent were not fully human.
Hair is important to most people, but for Black people, hair can hold spiritual and cultural importance. For a long time, I was not particularly fond of my own hair. Growing up in what was a predominantly white area often made me question and compare my natural hair to others around me. There is a widely held belief that Black hairstyles are inappropriate, unattractive and unprofessional. More than half of Black students have said to have experienced name-calling or uncomfortable questions about their hair at school. Today I'm starting the conversation by speaking with people from different cultures and backgrounds who are willing to share their experiences and beliefs around the notion of Black hair. It begins now. Here we go.
What is professional? Exactly. What exactly is professional? If I have my hair like this as it grows out of my head, is this unprofessional? My hair is quite wide, but this is how it grows out of my head.
When you search the term professional hairstyles, we are not categorised in that. And it is a shame because there's always going to be that stigma, there's always going to be people that are negatively labelling our hair.
For me personally, I think growing up in school, I didn't really kind of venture out in terms of my hair. But I know, like, I remember one of my very good friends, like, coming into school in bantu knots and the teacher going, that's a very extreme hairstyle. And having, what the hell does that mean? I've got like a couple buns on my head and it's an extreme hairstyle.
I used to work in a club and there wasn't that many Black people. So a lot of the customers, they always wanted to touch my hair because they hadn't seen this style of hair before and it was a lot bigger. And when I told them they couldn't, they'd get almost angry, feeling that because they wanted to touch it, they could touch it.
In the workplace, natural hair isn't seen as professional. So in that sense, to be able to get a professional job or to be respected, a Black woman has to change their hair. Just to do something as simple as go to work. And in schools as well, like Black hairstyles, even like short back and sides for some boys, isn't seen as a hairstyle that you can wear to school, which makes no sense because how does the hair affect the work that you'll do? So I think that Black hair is governed by society's standards and society's rules.
When I was first growing up, the only people really in the media who had an afro was Ludacris when he didn't have his Ken Rowan or Maxwell. So because they're the only people with afros, when mine got past when it Ken Rowan, a lot of people tried to troll me or make jokes about my hair. Like, what are you doing with it? Like, you're gonna cut it. So it's time to bother me a little bit.
How many children do you hear say, I want hair like my friend and she's got long straight hair, and the mother will say, your hair is beautiful. We have to instill that in our children, but before we can do that, we have to appreciate our hair because they learn from us.
As soon as I have my hair in braids, it's like everyone wants to come and touch my hair every 5 seconds. And I think it just speaks to like the environment some people have grown up in where they've been told that that's like not an appropriate thing to do.
Our hair causes so much conversation in the workplace, so much conversation on the streets. You know, our hair is amazing.
It's not somebody directly coming up to me and saying outright like your hair is ugly, but it's just, you know, the microaggressions, the little comments, and you kind of internalize them. So I think, yeah, I have experienced it personally, but I think at the same time I have to recognise my privilege as a mixed race girl with curly hair, which is a privilege because on the spectrum of people that experience these microaggressions, I fall like very, very in the middle, definitely not on the extreme end. I think there is still lots of work to be done, because on one hand, a black woman's criticised for wearing her natural hair, and then at the same time, there's always the question of, well, why do you wear wigs, or why do you wear weave? It's like they just can't win.
Because it's so personal to an individual, but so public, it reflects you. It reflects, it's a representation of you. It's seen daily. And so it's been used in many ways traditionally to identify who we are, where we come from, our background.
I do love like a natural, beautiful fro, which is just because I think you don't see it as much, because it is quite difficult to maintain, I'd say. But I do love that, so I'd say that's my favourite hairstyle.
I think there's different kinds of labels attached to black hair. Obviously, on one side, there's like power and freedom, because I think there is a power in wearing your natural hair if you have black hair. And I think on the other side of that, obviously, there are really oppressive labels, because black hair is always seen as bad hair.
I remember getting my hair cut, and I remember getting the Nike sign at the back of my head, and everyone had that back in the day, so yeah, it was cool. So I just said, I'll just get that. It didn't really bother me. Then now, later on in life, I've seen everyone with these nice long hairstyles with the little singles or the little pop smoke singles, so it does burn me a bit now. Imagine if I kept my hair, how long it would be.
I change up my hair daily, depending on how I feel. And so, yes, people will make comments and sometimes say, yes, your hair's got longer, or is that your real hair? Or, these questions that don't necessarily concern them. But because of my social media platform, I'm here to try and educate people. And so I try not to see it as a negative, and I try to just kind of advise them or explain to them how to go about it, and I'll explain to them why my hair is different, or why I've decided to do it in a certain style, just so that in the future going forward they can approach in a better manner, because they're always going to approach, like we said earlier, that people are amazed by our hair. So there's nothing wrong with questioning something that you're curious about. It's just your intentions and your energy behind doing it. So as long as we can try to, do it with love and just, come from a place that's of good intentions, then it should be okay.
Over the centuries, the representation and social status of black hair has altered. In pre-colonial societies, there was a hairstyle for everyone and every occasion. You could tell who you were talking to just by looking at their hair. The slavery era and the decades following is where a new set of meanings were imposed onto black hair. The heated comb gave black women the chance to have the so-called good hair they were taught they didn't have. Straight hair was not only deemed more attractive, but it elevated a woman's personal, social, and economic status. By the 50s and 60s, black hairstyles became an intrinsic part of major black liberation movements. The 90s saw plenty of natural hairstyles, afros big and small, and wildly creative protective braiding styles. These were represented well in film and television through shows like Moesha, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and the 1993 film Poetic Justice.
I was doing a module called Brazilian Slave Society, and I chose to write about hair, how hair was used like in black diaspora as forms of resistance. So like before I could do that, I had to go back to like African origins, and there was so many different hairstyles. Like just in Berlin, men would style their hair in like 16 different ways just to go to war. So like if you think of that in that one specific place, preparing for war, which is like one part of their life, like their hairstyles were so diverse. And I think it's strange now when you see like, I think a lot of the hairstyles have been lost, but I think the ones that still remain are like the cornrows or like cane rows, wherever you come from, you say them differently. But I think a lot of them have been lost, and I think that it is sad because now it's just more conforming to like European standards of beauty. But the hairstyles were so diverse and so intricate as well, like so many different styles of braiding to represent different things. And then now it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna straighten my hair instead because otherwise I'll be too different.
So in the area I'm from, there wasn't too many black people in my school as it is. So growing up with this kind of hair, wasn't so much ridicule, but a few comments here and there. I wasn't a big fan of it, but then I literally watched black exploitation films from like the 70s where everyone had afros. And speaking to smaller people who gave me a history of afros, and the Black Power movement and stuff, that just made me feel that I'm representing my culture, so it's made me want to keep it.
There was such pride in hair, like hair was like the visual communicator, and it was like used as a language. And then to be moved from a place where your hair is like the centre of pride, like people are attracted to you for these elaborate and extravagant hairstyles that show off the texture of your hair, and then to be moved to a place where you're told like your hair looks like wool and it's not nice, like, and to have your head shaved as well, like for hygiene reasons. Like, no, it wasn't for hygiene reasons, it's because people took pride in their hair, so we're going to cut it off to like dehumanize you. And I think that's why it still exists today. Kind of like all trickles down, doesn't it?
A lot of people would grow their afros, men and women, to show as like defiance to people in the civil rights movement who had an issue with black people. And then came about Black Power. That's why a lot of afro combs today have the fist at the end of it.
I think it's difficult because men don't have like a wider scope to express themselves through hair as women do. Like, I think there's only a few hairstyles that men are limited to that are like in style or like acceptable. But then you see like J. Cole now growing his hair out.
Barbering is one of the oldest professions in the world. Every black person knows and understands the importance of barbershops in our communities. For many of us, they are so much more than just places to go to get our hair cut. They are often filled with lively debates, comedy, and authentic black male friendships.
They always, when they see how long I take my hair, they're like, why you take so long? That's what girls do. But I'm like, why should it only be girls who look after their appearance? Like, guys have hair too, a barber to a guy is just as important as a hairdresser to a girl. So when I see what issues with spending time on your appearance.
Probably 7. Well, I didn't have a choice. My mum just took me to the barber. She was sick of doing my hair, so yeah, I didn't really get a choice. So probably around 7. Going to bed wearing head ties all day, like it was just tiring, and all the heat, and then waking up with the duo across your bed. So cutting your hair low it's easy to like maintain, but at the end of the day, you still can have your nice hairstyles. Like I now and again go back to having waves or just having a mini afro.
In my day, a barber was a counselor, he was a fashion expert, he was a style coach, pimp, just general all-around hustler. But the problem with y'all cats today is that you got no skill, no sense of history.
Cheating on your barber is basically blasphemy. And in my lifetime, I could probably count on one hand the amount of barbers I've been to. And normally when I'm with a barber, I'm with them for years.
I think it has been comforting to see people talking about, like, I think it brought like a whole wealth of issues, like not just Black Lives Matter. It's been much more acceptable to be speaking about these things, and I think it promoted it into conversations. However, it kind of does, it's like, is that it? Is posting it on social media, is that as far as it needs to go? advocacy. It's not.
Literally no other race of people that have that many assumptions tied to a hairstyle.
Afro hair out was seen as unprofessional and unkempt. And even now, kids in school are still fighting to have the right to wear their hair in its natural state to school, because to some teachers it's seen as unkempt or undone.
There have been several recent articles in the media regarding hair discrimination or hair trauma due to education or employment policies.
Your hair reminds me of an alpaca today. Actually, so it does. You just want to pet it, don't you? It's very, very alpaca-ish.
Don't touch my hair.
The internet does have some readily available content that can be used to educate ourselves and others, presented to us by authors, journalists, models, and creatives. Since then, so much has been done by Black communities around the world to not only reclaim and champion traditional Black hairstyles, but also influence the world whilst at it.
When I was doing my research project on hair at university, that was really difficult to find like academic writing about Black hair in like Jamaica or like South Carolina. So like there's only a few like academic scholars that have written about it, well, like about the Black diaspora. So like if that's like the academic information, and then someone has to kind of translate that and make it more readily available, I feel like there's not, because as I said, I struggled to find stuff like essays and like books, like resources that I could use. And I feel like not everybody has that access to that information, because that's at one university. And like obviously there's stuff online, but the majority of people like say they don't go to university that are actually interested in this stuff. Like where are they finding that information from? So I do definitely think there needs to be, this information should be like available everywhere.
We're artists, full stop. And we apply art to absolutely everything we do. As Black people, we apply art to everything we do. And that includes our hair. So we have the most elaborate hairstyles. We can do the most elaborate things. Look at the way that we do cornrows or cane-rows, some people call it. You know, we started off, you know, the Leroy styles, you know, just going back when we started to do it in recent years, because obviously it's something that went back in centuries. And now we have the most elaborate designs on the head, off the head, and it's just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Some of the hairstyles that you see, it's literally a work of art. Even the afro can be a work of art in how neat you decide to have it, how, you know, it's plumped and patted in to get a certain roundness to it, or it's left to be a more natural afro where it's, you know, you'll have different areas sticking out, but it's still very attractive and very arty. I think we stand out obviously because of our hair. Our hair causes so much conversation.
See, like having a fresh haircut, it does boost your confidence, you know what I mean? It does make you feel like all eyes are on you. I do embrace women, you know what I mean, trying different hairstyles. So even if it's not their own hair, you know what I mean, women are starting to embrace themselves now with different wigs and hairstyles. So
I would definitely rather have freshly washed hair than a full face of makeup. Like if I had to choose between the two, my hair's got to look good.
Go have a look around and find what is you, you know what I mean? There's never anything that you just have to stick to in this world, you know what I mean? The world is a big place, you know, so you can, it's always easy to find and go and explore yourself, like the internet, you know what I mean? I get a lot of ideas off the internet. I didn't know what Waves was only 10 years ago, you know, I found it today and look, it's changed who I am at the end of the day. It's giving me more confidence, so.
Black hair is unique. You won't really find any curl that falls in the same pattern. Nobody's texture is the same. Nobody's, you know, colour, the definition of volume, the way it falls, it's never going to be the same with between the individuals, let alone with the person. You know, if I style my hair one day and try and style it again, it's going to come out different every time. We learn a routine. I think that having a consistent routine in anything that you do, whether that be your hair or your skincare or your work, your job, you know, something you're passionate about, that's what gets results, your consistency.
I mean, it's all a learning curve. Like you're constantly like learning and growing and changing, and you know, everything doesn't happen straight away. And well, regardless, your hair's beautiful, so don't worry.
Just about healthy hair, taking care of hair. It doesn't matter what texture you have. Like, it could be straight, it could be curly, it could be like really kinky. Doesn't matter, as long as it like you're looking after your hair. That to me is good hair.
All have amazing hair that does all sorts of different and amazing things. We can sculpt it, we can plait it, we can, you know, hold it out to the side and it will stay there defying gravity. So, you know, I think our hair is amazing.
Black Lives Matter. Yes, all lives matter, but right now we're focusing on Black Lives Matter. All lives can't matter if Black lives don't matter.
Here we go. Hair stay wild like my spirit, like my soul. See, I'm black and I'm proud, hope they know. Said I'm black and I'm proud, hope it shows. Here we go. This is my world. Fuck a perm, I'm rocking my world. Been around the city, still I'm sitting back with my girls. One time for the dread man. Lion can't roar in this jungle full of stress. And I gotta do whatever makes me happy, see. Let my hair down and let my afro free. No one's gonna tell me who I'm gonna be. Put my hair in bubble or some braids. Naturally in your spirit, not something that is fake. Hairstyle change, but your heart stays the same. Don't float the latest style just to stay in the game. See a weave or a wig or a fro. Doesn't change your black in your soul. Here we go. See a black and you beautiful. Some are gonna hate, yeah, that's usual. I told them cage bird gotta sing. Lions got a raw life, have to live. See you pretty in your toes or your Afrosis. Cage bird gotta sing. Don't let him break you down. I told them cage bird gotta sing. Lions got a raw life, have to live. Black in your spirit and your Afro skin.